Welcome to It's a Crime. I'm Linda, and today we're going to talk about the recent letter that was sent to the judge by Letecia Stauch in the Gannon Stauch case. This is not the first time she's written to the judge. Now, Letecia has recently started representing herself in the case, but before she did, she had to speak her mind and send this letter. So today I'm going to get into it and we're going to do a little dive into it. But before I get into it, if you'd like to be part of the It's a Crime community, don't forget to hit that subscribe button below, hit the notification bell. Also, please give this video a like if you like it and share it out where you can. Now, let's get into it. This letter was dated on February 21st, 2021. It's a 4-page letter written by Letecia. Now, something I noticed right away, and I just did a little comparison to other letters she wrote, and it's actually in much larger writing than what she usually does. But it is Letecia, and it has the same type of spelling errors, grammar errors, and word salad. So this letter was filed on March the 8th, and there was a hearing on March the 5th, and the judge actually addressed Letecia about this letter. He said, "I did get your letter. Does this mean you still want to represent yourself or not?" She says yes, and the judge says, okay, because you're dancing around the issue. And I did cover that in a previous video. So let's get into the letter, and I'm just going to say that I'm going to read it as is. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Conflict hearing info. Judge Werner. On February 19th, 2021, I was unable to talk with Judge Bain about my conflicts with my defense team due to 1, the actual privacy of the booth and the transport over. I explained in detail to him expressing my concerns of privacy. Now, I'd love to know what kind of privacy she's talking about here and the privacy that she needed for transport. I mean, this woman, as you know, is a flight risk, and she did talk in court about her wearing handcuffs, and she was actually complaining that she was wearing handcuffs at the law library. Let's go back to the letter. I had a very difficult morning mentally because I am not mentally well. Now, notice here how she makes sure to add this in about her mental condition. She says how difficult her days are here because she's not mentally well. Now, in my opinion, she's pushing back, and you'll see why in a moment. But she's pushing back because her competency assessments came back as competent. Not once, but twice. And she tried to spin around in circles and act crazy and flick the lights on and off so that she can get a different diagnosis. So now she's on to plan B here, in my opinion. Moving on. One of the main issues with my attorneys is their lack of ability to gather evidence. Due to this, I find little value in the term expert. First, they were unable to obtain my mental health records from Charleston, South Carolina, when I finally paid a firm in South Carolina to obtain them. There's a few things here for sure. I mentioned this before, but the reason why she wants to represent herself, in my opinion, is because she has a few things up her sleeve. And something or some things that I'm sure that the attorneys wouldn't want to be part of or couldn't be a part of. So automatically I question her here. And I question who the company was or the firm that she paid in South Carolina to obtain her mental health records. Remember the fiasco of Letecia paying fake polygraph.com to give her a fake result about not doing harm to her stepson, etc.? Red flag here. So I then ask, well, why were they unable to obtain my mental health records, right? Are there health records even to obtain? Now, she did mention about an expert in court and how she uses that term loosely. But here she's putting the blame, obviously, on her defense team for not being competent and not an expert by any means, or experts. And whatever it is that she paid to get, much like fake polygraph.com report, it didn't make it to them for some reason, or couldn't be usable. Now, my hunch is the latter. And you can tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Why would the defense team not get them if there's something, and they are the defense team, and they were the ones who requested 2 competency hearings? So it's not logical in my opinion. However, this is Letecia we're talking about. Moving on. I was diagnosed with, and it's redacted, and received treatment before work for over 28 hours of care. The school district even provided extra services and later let me medically resign due to the ongoing reality breaks. This is funny, reality breaks. I mean, she's saying they let me medically resign due to the ongoing reality breaks. Shouldn't it be breaks from reality? Anyways, in 2018, I was hospitalized in Canada, crossing the border, for 2 days and completed more of treatment when I returned. I tell you this because it sets the stage for why I cannot work with my attorneys. In this letter, that was the only thing that was redacted, was what she was diagnosed with. And also I say, wait a minute about the 2018, because wasn't she working at getting her doctorate at this time? And according to her LinkedIn, she was as well. So this is interesting. Also in 2018, she was fired from her job in South Carolina. So I'm not sure about this medical resignation stuff. I don't trust a thing she says at this point. And so naturally, I question everything. But in 2018, she was an early childhood teacher and was fired on August 30th, 2018. All right, next. I'm not sure what she's talking about going to Canada for 2 days for treatment here. It would be interesting to see what this is about. However, I do wonder if she took a 2-day vacation across the border and now she's using this because maybe she thinks you can't get medical records from Canada or what have you. So I don't know. Back to her letter. I tell you this because it sets the stage for why I cannot work with my attorneys. I signed release forms for them to get all this information so they would have a better understanding of why I'm all over the place some days. So in essence here, she says she can't work with her attorneys because she's mentally not well and that they aren't gathering evidence she wants them to gather. It's funny though because she wants to be deemed mentally unwell. So I don't know. And her words make one heck of a salad. I asked them to use the info from a non-biased doctor who worked with me more than 2 hours, but instead they sent a lady who was clearly an actress and friends with the DA. She spoke about him in an unprofessional manner, their history, and his election. Okay, so now she's accusing the professional who assessed her to be an actress and friends with the district attorney, Michael Allen. And she says that this actress acted unprofessional and confided in Letecia about the history together of this actress and Mr. Michael Allen. She says, now I'm sure all this was true, but I thought she worked for the court, not one particular side. I thought she was an actress, Letecia. My attorneys did this to make me look like a perjurious, her words, individual. Instead, it was malfeasances on their part. I have included several reasons to support my claim as I kept a timeline of these conflicts. And so now she starts to list 7 reasons to support her claims. Number 1 is communication is broken beyond repair. 2, inconsiderate of evidence. 3, my evidence. 4, overlooking statue of evidence, her words. 5, sharing info. 6, my judge. And 7, defenses. Let's dive in again. Number 1, communication is broken beyond repair. I explained these issues to Judge Bain, including the lack of access and visitations in complete detail. Number 2, inconsiderate of evidence. Since March 2020, which is when she got arrested, I asked my attorneys to preserve the GameStop footage, to locate the Texas police officer whom I spoke with, and to get the cruise passenger list. Instead, they spent months contacting my family for mitigation. When asked certain things, they kept saying they will let the investigators know. 1 year later, same answer. Now, this is something I would love to dive more into. Here are 2 things we haven't heard before. So my question is this the 2 pieces she was talking about in court that no one could refute, not even science? What are your thoughts? And I have 2 words for you besides GameStop. Nintendo Switch. I'm wondering if she did something at this GameStop in Texas with the Switch. And GameStop, you can trade games, you can trade consoles. I really want to know at this point. Now, she mentions Texas, like I said, which makes me look at the map naturally from Colorado Springs, to, let's say, Pace, Florida. where Gannon was found. And lo and behold, you gotta go through Texas. And if you're wondering about what she's talking about, the cruise passenger list, from my understanding, and it could be something totally different, but from my understanding and my guess here, he is here again. I still don't know what he looks like. My guess here is the cruise that Al and Letecia went on in January. It was right before, I believe it was in January, beginning of January, right before Gannon went missing. It was Letecia and Al's 5th anniversary. Now, just a reminder as well, Letecia explains away circumstances and evidence, like Gannon's sock being found north of Colorado Springs, in a forest, and the blood being found on her bumper, etc. And here it is, to me, this is her explaining it away, Gannon's Nintendo Switch, which from my understanding wasn't found. Perhaps it is now. And now we see GameStop. Number 3, my evidence. I haven't physically seen any while being held at CJC for 1 year. Yes, COVID, but inmates were still being held as our constitutional rights were adjusted. She can't make it through one letter or one hearing without talking about her constitutional rights. I get it, you can talk about your constitutional rights, but she just really drives this home, just as an observation. She will be getting the physical evidence though. They talked about it in a previous hearing. It was said to just double check that everything is photographed, etc., before she gets her hands on it. Number 4, Overlooking Statue of Evidence. They overlooked the competency statute about video recording. Human error? Okay, but this happens often with evidence in which me, the non-expert, has to provide corrections to evidence. Number 5, sharing info. They were texting my family and giving them info that they should not have, causing several disputes. So family matters are starting to get tough, I guess, from the sounds of it. Wonder what this is all about, and or I should ask, I wonder what the info or the text was all about. Number 6, my judge. They filed that motion knowing this county would not grant me new attorneys to sabotage my chances of a trial by judge. They knew I wanted to present evidence to him without exposing any info on my son's father. However, they created incorrect conflicts instead of addressing the real issues. They could have filed the pro se only instead of talking about my defense to sabotage my trial by judge. So here it is, folks. She's been asking several times if she wanted new attorneys, and she decided to go pro se, and now she's bringing up her son's father. Now, at first I'm thinking, is this her way to butter things up so it doesn't sound like stepson to her? She just wants to say son. Does it sound better to her for some reason when she's talking about Gannon? But wait until I read this next bit, because this is where it starts to get bizarre. Now, side note, I do recommend that you read this letter out loud too, just so you can see the obstacles one would endure while reading this out loud. Number 7, defenses. Indeed, I am innocent, but I will not put myself or others in danger running the defense against my biological son when the system is letting 2 men run free who are involved. One is a prominent member of an independent business. Now we have the biological son wording put in here magically. If you are a viewer who knows something that I don't here, can you send me some links with proof that she has a biological son or what's going on? I'd really appreciate it. But I do have a theory that pops immediately into mind here, and it's, to me, she needs someone else, the biological son perhaps, walking to that truck that day that Gannon went missing that looks like Gannon. Or I don't know at this point. This is just something off the cuff here. Now, the 2 men running free she's talking about, I'm assuming, is Eduardo and the other guy she talked about previously in her reports. She changed the story 3 times, I believe, possibly even 5. It's been a while. And the independent business is drugs, so according to Letecia. They used the not guilty reason by insanity to get a hearing, knowing I'm not guilty, to cover up their lack of representation. Although I had bouts of insanity and still do, I did not murder or abuse anyone, nor would that be a defense, because it's my understanding that you actually did do it. However, I will protect my bio son, and I will protect the drugs and violence documented from my stepson. I'm starting to think, like, is she calling Harley her son now? What's going on here? But whatever it is, she's certainly starting to stir a pot here, isn't she? Like, seriously, I wonder how far the eyes rolled back into the judge's head after reading this. She's making this look like a giant circus. Correction, she's creating this to be a giant circus. In closing, she says, the truth is the court is holding the wrong person and for the wrong crimes. This whole process has been nefarious, from denying me an attorney, threatening me in the bathroom away from cameras to confess, taking advantage of me being delusional, threatening my other kids' freedom or else, etc. I am going to keep making it known, sir, just how much the state has done in this wrongful incarceration. I will continue to be an advocate for myself because I am not a murderer, and the level that the prosecution goes through to promote a wrongful conviction is absurd. Truth is, they could see a video from someone else and they would dismiss that person as a lunatic. They have far too much invested in this wrongful incarceration to admit they were and are wrong. For these reasons, and because my defense team is in cahoots with them, I am left with no other choice but to represent myself. Denying me my rights under the Constitution has happened throughout this process, from the detectives, the jail, and now my legal team. Every day I am getting worse mentally due to inadequate representation and being held hostage for a crime I did not commit. These are my conflict issues and my reason for asking to go pro se. As always, thank you for your time. Notable, she didn't sign it as Dr. T. Stauch this time. And if you didn't see it or didn't see one of my last videos about this, Letecia says she's a professional and she wants to represent herself. So I can see why the judge asks again, what do you want to do? Because after this letter, he's like, what is she talking about? So let's have a chit chat and let's actually do a little deeper dive into what's going on. What is this business about a biological son? What is she talking about GameStop in Texas? So many questions and so many answers are needed at this time. See you in the comments. Let's have a chit chat and let's figure this out. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Please like and please share. If you'd like to join in the Crime Ring, which is my membership, you can do so at the join button just below this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon.